Okay. Tim, can you show the disclaimer for people?
Certainly.
And then we'll get on the road.
All right. So, thank you for joining tonight. By attending this event, you agree to the privacy policy of Toastmasters International, as well as the unassociated remote hosting service. Some of your personal information, such as name, image, and any shared messages, may be shared with other meeting participants and will be recorded by District 123 Toastmasters, who may publish this event on district platforms. You can turn off your camera and ask any questions through chat. Your remote attendance hereby discharges Toastmasters International from all claims, demands, rights, promises, damages, and liabilities arising out of or in connection with use or distribution of said video recordings, including but not limited to any claims for invasion of privacy, appropriation of likeness, or defamation.
All right.
And now I would like to introduce our host, our speaker for this evening, Marilyn Latchford.
Hello, everyone, and I welcome you to this Tall Tale workshop. I am really excited this year that the district has decided to have a Tall Tale contest. And I hope that everyone else is excited too, because I can guarantee you it will be the most entertaining contest that we've had for years. About 5 or 6 years ago, District 60 had a Tall Tale extravaganza, and I was asked to participate because there wasn't any women in the contestant list. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what a tall tale was. And they said, oh, it'll be easy, no problem. So I looked into my story bag and I came up with a tall tale about taking a surfing lesson in Australia and encountering a white shark. The surfing lesson was true, but as you can see, the white shark mentioned, I'm still here. I hope that you will think about thinking about competing in the tall tale contest, because you will grow in leaps and bounds as far as energy, as far as exaggeration and everything. So what we'll do is I will share my screen and we'll get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what is a tall tale so that you have an idea of what it is. It's different. It's different than a humorous speech and a regular speech. I'm going to talk about the history of tall tales because that's important to know, because tall tales has been going on since the 1800s. We're going to talk about the elements of a tall tale speech, tips for writing a tall tale, and where you can find stories for your tall tale. We're going to talk about the tall tale contest rules, because I don't know if you know what the rules are. I'll talk about where you can get resources for your tall tale contest. It's the same as any other contest, but we'll talk about that. And then we're going to look at a video of a tall tale. And then after the video, we're going to discuss, we're going to dissect it and see if you can see the different elements of a tall tale in that tall tale. And then we will have a Q&A after that. So what is a tall tale? It's a fanciful or greatly exaggerated story. It's not supposed to be a true story. A story with unbelievable elements related to as if they were true. And it's really a whopper of a story. We've all heard about the fisherman who about the fish that got away. He says it's a big fish, but in actual fact, it's probably a little tiny one. Tall tales originated actually from the bragging contests of rugged frontiersmen around campfires in the 1800s in the US. The famous tales like Paul Bunyan and his giant blue ox babe reflected the nation-building tasks faced by American settlers using wit and might to tame the squalling and wild land. And Paul Bunyan actually was a real person, and he was very strong, and he did have an axe. But the legend of Paul Bunyan said that he and his ox Babe carved out the Grand Canyon with his axe, as well as the Great Lakes. So, they stretch the truth. And families all over the world would gather in front of their fireplaces because they didn't have any other entertainment, and were entertained with tall tales, music, and dancing. I know my Irish grandmother was the second youngest of her family, and every night they would gather around the fireplace and listen to the tall tales that my great-grandfather, Garrett O'Connor, would tell. And they had such a good time. They would have their musical instruments, they would sing, and my grandmother would dance. So it's been around for a long time. Oops. So what are the elements of a tall tale? The key one is exaggeration. You don't want to have a really solid story, but no exaggeration. The elements are beyond belief. And you'll see that in this video I'm going to be showing you. The humor should be outrageous and often absurd. Situations where the characters find themselves. And again, we'll see the humor in the video. Improbable events, superhuman feats or events that defy the natural world. So think about a story, a real story that you have encountered or experienced, and how can you embellish it so that it's superhuman? And then extraordinary characters depicted as physically larger, stronger, smarter, or in some ways even more extraordinary than ordinary. So think of the characters. Characters are very important in a tall tale as well. So tips for writing a tall tale. Think of where you're going to set your scene. It's important that you have your characters in a place and it follows through the tall tale. What is the challenge, the outlandish challenge that is facing the characters that you have in your speech? And how are you going to resolve a humorous twist or two? You don't have to have one humorous twist. You can have several, and you can see that at the end. Colorful descriptions are important, and as I said before, exaggeration is the key. And there should be a balance between familiar elements and the exaggeration so that there is a contrast visible in your tall tale. Are there any questions so far? Tim, do you see any? No? Okay. I bet you're waiting to see this video that Tim and I have on tap. So where can you find tall tales to tell or stories to tell? Look at your life and grab a moment in time to tell a greatly exaggerated story as if it's true. And it could be a stunning victory. It could be an embarrassing moment. It could be a setback, a family tradition, a prized possession, family pet, or an unexpected gift. But think about a moment that you can just embellish and exaggerate as if they were true. The rules. The tall tale contest must follow all the rules outlined in the general rules section of the current speech contest rulebook. And the timing of a tall tale is 3 to 5 minutes. So make sure that you write something that is for 3 to 5 minutes as opposed to 5 to 7. And there are some exceptions to the general rules, and one of them is the subject of a tall tale speech must be an exaggerated, improbable in nature and have a theme or plot. So it has to be exaggerated, and we'll see the difference between a humorous speech and a tall tale. And humor and props may be used to support or illustrate your speech. So those are the two things. The tall tale speech must be an exaggerated speech. All right. This is interesting because it's different than in a normal speech criteria. In this case, tall tales, the content is 30% of your tally. And it includes only speech development. And that's where people will be looking for the opening, the buildup, the climax, the organization, and the smoothness of the speech. And that's different than, say, a humorous speech contest, because in the humorous speech contest, the content is worth 55%. But where tall tales, what's interesting is the delivery is 55%. So think about what can you do with your delivery in order to gather those 55 points. And that includes speech techniques. And that is effective use of exaggeration, irony, pun, surprise, twists, humor, slapstick, whatever suit a tall tale. The physical part of it is appearance, body language, which reinforces the story. So think about that. It's not the use of the stage like it is in some of the other speeches. It's just appearance, body language that reinforces the story. And the voice, what they're looking at is flexibility and volume. So think about that as well. And then the next part of it is, the next part is appropriateness. You may have a tall tale, but make sure it's appropriate for your audience and the speech purpose, where the speech purpose obviously is to entertain. And then think about good grammar, pronunciation, and word selection. Do you have any questions about how they're going to be, how this impacts your tall tale?
Arthur has a question in the chat asking
Okay.
if the timing, because it's a 3 minutes green, 4 minutes amber, and 5 minutes red,
Yeah.
does that mean we are now the 2:29? You're out and disqualified
Yes.
at 5:31?
It's 30 seconds on either side.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
But remember, though, you're going to get a lot of laughter in this speech. So make sure that you build in time for laughter. I was saying before, in the semifinals in the international contest, 3 people were disqualified for going over in time, and 2 people went over time in the finals. And that's such a shame. But I don't think that they took into consideration that laughter can eat up your time. A good hearty laugh could take up 3 to 4 seconds. And you may need that 3 to 4 seconds at the end of your speech. So build in that little kernel for if you think you're going to have 5 laughs in your speech, then build in an extra time so that you don't go over.
I get it back out.
Yeah, Brian has a question. Go ahead,
Yes.
Brian.
Yes, Brian.
You have a question?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, my question. Yeah, my question.
You're
is
cutting
this.
out.
I was looking on today about. Can you put it back on? Oh, I was looking on the thing about tall tales. I already had a speech I did a few years ago, but it said make a speech that's exaggerated, but it's possibly true. My tall tale is I have a speech that it's basically no chance this could be true, but it's a tall tale, but it's no chance it could be true. They suggested I don't do that fairy tale. Is that correct?
No, you can give that speech. What they're saying is deliver it as if it's true, but it doesn't have to be true.
Even if people know there's no way that can be true, I can still do it that way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Trust me, when you watch the video, you'll understand.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good question. Thanks. So here's the humorous speech criteria. As you see, content is 55%, and it includes these speech development, structure, organization, support and materials, effectiveness, achievement of purpose, interest, reception, speech value. All of these are not included in the content portion of the tall tale, so you don't have to worry. The only thing, the audience response, that's where the laughter for a humorous speech is counted. And you'll see that the delivery of a humorous speech is only 30%. So whereas a tall tale is 55%. So make sure that in your tall tale, you really take advantage of your body language and your voice and your energy just to gather people in and enjoy your speech.
Natasha asks, are we allowed to use props?
Yes, that's one of, if you look back here. Humor and props may be used to support and illustrate the speech. So that's part of the rules in the rule book. So yes, the answer is yes. Whoops, wrong way. All right, you can get all the resources that you need for your speech contest in the resource library on Toastmasters International website. You can get the certificates, the required forms, and also the rule book. Now we're going to have a video. So Tim, take it away.
Certainly. 1 second.
So think about this tall tale and what are the elements that he's using, and just enjoy it because it's a very good tall tale. And I'll stop sharing.
I was madly in love with my high school girlfriend, Tulip. She was the prettiest girl in St. Andrew's Priory, with her golden blonde hair and her deep blue eyes. And she thought I was the smartest boy at St. Louis High School. She told me once, Bobby, it's not like you're Jeopardy smart, you're more like Wheel of Fortune smart. I think that's a compliment. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests, I was totally in love with my high school girlfriend, Tulip. And she, well, she dropped me like a hot malasada fresh out of the oil. I was devastated. I was crushed. And why did she do it? So that she could go to the prom with Big Billy Biederman. In a way, I didn't blame her. He was ruggedly handsome with his jet black hair and his muscular physique. He was the biggest kid at St. Louis High School. but not very well liked. You see, he was a bully. He used his size to push all the other kids around. As a matter of fact, that's how he became prom king. He just intimidated all the other kids so they'd vote for him. And as prom king, whoever escorted him as his date would automatically become prom queen. And that's why Tulip wanted to go with him. You know, for as big as Big Billy Peterman was, you wouldn't think he was afraid of anything. But he was. He was afraid of heights. I remember one day in PE, coach made us run the bleachers, and when Big Billy Peterman got to the top, he looked over the edge, realized he was 4 stories off the ground, and he froze like a woolly mammoth in a glacier. It took 4 men and a boy to carry his frame down to a lower altitude where they were able to revive him. I missed Tulip so much it hurt to breathe. I prayed that she would come to her senses and take me back. And then, one evening, as if all my dreams were about to come true, the phone rang. It was Tulip. She said she was sorry for breaking my heart. She said that she made a mistake and she wanted me back. She told me that Big Billy Peterman was mean to her. He made her buy her own popcorn at the movie theater. And he refused to open her car door for her. I told Tulip not to go to the prom with Big Billy Peterman, but she said she had to. She was committed. Besides that, she was afraid of what he might do if she backed out. I knew that there was going to be a showdown at the senior prom. I arrived at the gymnasium a little late that Saturday night, but after I entered, I looked over the crowd and I saw him, Big Billy Peterman. He was seated at the head table next to the prom queen, Tulip, my girl. Our eyes met, his filled with anger. He was obviously aware of Tulip's true feelings towards me. He rose from the table, a mountain of a man, and started making his way towards me, rolling up the sleeves of his rented tuxedo jacket, exposing his massive biceps. I knew I had but 2 choices, fight or flight. I stood there bravely in the face of danger. Then, I turned and I ran. I ran like a coward. I ran to save my life. And Big Billy Peterman gave chase out of the gymnasium and up Campus Road. I knew he was faster than me. It would only be a matter of time before he caught me. I made a quick right-hand turn into the campus chapel. I thought at this point only God could save me. Billy chased me around the pews, and I made a quick left-hand turn into the staircase that led to the top of the bell tower. With each single step I took, Big Billy Peterman took 2. When I reached the top of the bell tower, I realized I was cornered. I turned and I faced him. He was smiling. He knew he'd soon be the victor. Then, as if someone had placed the words in my mouth, I yelled out, "Don't look down, Billy!" With that, he peered through the open window of the bell tower, realizing he was 4 stories off the ground, and he froze! Like a hare in the headlights of an 18-wheeler. I dropped to my knees and I scurried past his statue-like frame, down the stairs and back to the gym, where all the kids were waiting outside, wondering what had happened. I brushed the dust off my angel flights. And I announced that I had defeated Big Billy Peterman. The crowd cheered. They hoisted me up to their shoulders and carried me triumphantly into the gym. They crowned me their prom king. And Tulip was my prom queen. And as for Big Billy Peterman, he remains frozen in time in the bell tower of the campus chapel. Why didn't anyone go and rescue him, you wonder? Well, you see, I never told anyone what really happened that night until just now.
Did you enjoy that one, that speech? Can you see the elements of that speech in his performance? Do you think that he set a vivid scene? Anyone? Yes, Jennifer? Yes. It was in the high schools, a high school, and it was in the gym for PE, physical education, as well as the senior prom, and then the chapel. And I think that allows you to, or allowed him to actually set his characters in one place. And he had 3 characters, and that would be Bobby himself, it would be Tulip, and Big Billy Biederman. Now the names that he chose were really added to the characters, because Tulip, you wonder, okay, that was not a plain name. And then he described her as this blonde-haired girl with big blue eyes. And and she was a bit fickle, I think, because she let him go. But what he did during the whole of the speech was he built the enormity of Big Billy Biederman, and he described them, and then his anguish built the same way as his character. Do you have any questions about that so far? Or do you have any comments about the speech itself? Do you see any, Tim? Yes, Brian, you're muted.
No question. I'm just talking to my wife.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see though? So we had a scene where it takes place. You have characters, and their personalities and their appearance is given in a humorous way.
Dennis has a question there.
Yes, Dennis.
Thank you, Tim. I'm just curious, Marilyn, how long ago was this speech delivered? Is it a recent Tall Tales contest?
It was, I don't know. I don't know what date they gave with it.
I put the original YouTube that I found in the chat, so it might have some information about when that contest was. I think there's other examples there as well.
Yeah. All right, so you have a vivid scene, you've created a challenge, and that challenge is that Bobby is worried that he's going to get into a showdown with Big Billy Biederman. And then there's a humorous twist about you would think that that Big Billy Biederman wouldn't be afraid of anything, but he was afraid of heights. And what he did was he added something that it took 4 adults and a boy to carry him down the bleachers and revive him. So then you get the idea that Big Billy Biederman was a big guy. The colorful descriptions, were there a lot of colorful descriptions for you? Yeah.
Mhm.
Like he froze like a woolly mammoth in a glacier. That was a pretty good comment and whatnot.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can the tall tale be based on a true story, only embellished?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you can make the characters bigger than life, then you could use it. Yes, you can use that, or you can come up with an original tall tale. It's up to you. But they want to see exaggeration. They want to see colorful descriptions and presenting the familiar scene in an unfamiliar way. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Is this helpful to you?
Is everybody going to compete?
Yeah. Dennis, you're going to be competing, are you not? Okay, now it's time for, if there's no other comments about the video, I hope you learned something from that video. There are other videos of tall tales on YouTube, but I thought that one had a smooth sailing. They want you to have they want you to give a story where the audience appreciates your imagination rather than a literal meaning for your topic. So, are there any questions about the actual tall tale contest, or are there any questions about how do you prepare for it?
Yeah, I have a question. Where do I guess you're going to send us some links on where we would find the guidelines. And is there, for instance, a handout that we give to the audience so they understand what they're actually grading us on?
Well, there is an actual judging form for tall tales, and it's in the resource library.
Okay.
Yeah, and it explains everything. That would be given to the judges. So, but please have your judges really look at that, because the way that the judging is it has 30% for content and 55% for the delivery. And if they think it's the same as a humorous speech contest, or they say, "Oh, I've already done a humorous speech," it's different. So they're going to be looking at the delivery more than the content. And also, if you can tell your contestants, make sure that you put time in for laughs.
Hi, my name is Renan. I have a question.
Okay.
Can we use a member from the volunteer to make a point from the audience? Can we use a volunteer?
Is that person a prop?
Yeah.
Well,
Like
in the rules, you can use props.
Okay. All right.
Props, it's humor, and props may be used to support or to illustrate the speech.
But can I add something? Renan, please be careful, because you cannot reference another contestant, and you cannot reference another contestant's speech in your speech.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you sing, this is what, there was a protest in the finals. The woman sang a song, but she didn't reference Queen as the originator of that song. So you have to be careful. And yes, Olga is correct. That's in the general rules, whereby you can't reference another person's speech in that contest. Are there any other questions?
Dennis?
I have a question.
Yes.
When we're presenting, are all the other contestants out of the room?
That's their choice. They can stay in the room or they can leave. It's up to the individuals. The only contest where the contestants or leave the room, all of them, is the evaluation. But if the contestants want to stay in the room and wait for their turn, they can, or they can leave and the sergeant at arms will call you back. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Dennis, you had another question?
I did, Chairman. Thank you. Marilyn, when introductions are being done, is it, if I remember correctly, speaker's name, speech title, speaker's name?
Yes. Yes.
There is no preamble. Thank you.
No. That's in the general rules of all the contests. Are there any other, Tim, can you see? Any other questions?
Marilyn, it's Jen. May I just clarify? I was writing and I heard you say, obviously humorous and tall tales are different. I
Yes.
swore I heard you say it this way. I could have heard it wrong. I thought you said that the content on the tall tales is more important than delivery.
No.
Okay, right, because the scoring, because I'm looking through the criteria.
No.
So I thought that's what you'd said, but I was like, wait a second, the criteria doesn't support that. So it's your delivery.
Yeah.
It's 55%, content is 30.
Yes.
Just clarifying.
It's the humorous speech contest where the content is 55% and delivery is 30. And I want people to make sure that their judges know that it's not the same as a humorous speech contest.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that because I misheard it and I wondered if I did, perhaps someone else did as well. Thank you.
In the delivery, it's the techniques that you use for exaggeration. It's the speech techniques. Effective use of exaggeration, irony, pun, surprise, twist, humor, and slapstick. So the delivery is very important. It's worth a greater amount, and the content is worth 30.
Some clubs are having it online, and then the actual district level will be in person, right?
Yes. Yeah, the club level is the only level that is allowed to have an online contest. All the other ones, area, division, and district, have to be in person.
Got it.
Are there any other questions, Tim?
I'm not seeing any. Nothing in the chat.
Has this been helpful to you?
Yes.
Yes.
If you're sitting on the fence thinking, I don't know if I want to be a contestant, I would say go for it. It's the best. It's entertaining. You can learn a lot about yourself and about exaggeration and humor and everything else that you can use later on in other speeches. But I would say just go for it. And it's not about winning. I did it with my surfing lesson and I was kicking the nose of a white shark and but it didn't. It freed me. So to just be. So and I suggest that you just put your name in and experience a tall tale.
So the questions have been, is this presentation going to be shared? The idea was yes, that's why we did the disclaimer at the beginning. So I guess Cynthia's at another meeting tonight, so we will make sure that it gets uploaded to a channel that everybody can see.
Yeah. It's very strange talking to people's names.
I know. Hung asks, can the contest speech count in the Pathways project?
Yes, yes. As long as you get it evaluated.
That's all I have. Ken just raised his hand.
Which pathway would that be? Does it matter, or?
Well, there could be
anything that deals with, levels, vocal delivery, those kinds of presentations would certainly, I think, fit that. The humorous topics.
Level 3 in most paths have an elective, and that's connecting with audience, storytelling. There's a number of ones that you could fit that particular speech in. So it's level 3 electives.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. So, yes, Scott, do you have a
No, he already.
question? Oh, he already did it?
Ken already asked, unless he has another one.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
So I recall writing down a prized possession. So that Tula was the prize that our speaker was trying to obtain. What are some good prized possessions you might suggest that we put in our speeches for trying to win the audience over? And how would
Well,
we?
it could be an old car. It could be a baseball mitt, and you could make up a story about meeting a famous ball player. It could be, there was one fellow when he was doing a speech, he met I think Mick Jagger and Ronnie Woods in the park. And they had a conversation and whatnot. So it's anything it can be. The prize possession. I like the fact that Bobby or Robert named Tulip because it was a funny name. It was better than Charlotte or whatever. So it added to it, and then it added to her personality that she dropped them and then she wanted them back, and so it added the humor part of it. Does that answer your question? The suggestions there, you don't have to use those suggestions. That was just some examples of looking into your life and coming up with something that you could use and deliver it in an unusual way.
It could be completely fantasy, science fiction. It could be a dragon's egg that you found. That's the one cool thing about Tall Tales.
Yes.
There's no limit.
I especially like how you mentioned the Tula's a fun name. So maybe your prized possession could have a fun name that no one would expect.
Yeah.
And I like that twist. So
and Big Belly Biederman. Well, you already know that he's going to be the tough guy, and poor Bobby is this spindly, young guy who's going to get clobbered by him, but he was able to succeed in the end. Yeah. So the names, like, look at the humor in the names, look at the humor in the situations. It just adds to it. And think of a twist. Think of the twist. Like the twist was that he was in love with Tulip, but Tulip dumped him, and then she came back, and then this Billy guy was mad. So, it's just think of twists and think of humorous ways of presenting things.
Sherry just just raised her hand. Sherry, go ahead.
Yes, Sharon.
Yeah.
Sharon.
Sherry.
Hi. The story is, I can tell a story about somebody else, right? Not a necessary story related to myself.
No, it could be somebody else. Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you.
But is that person going to be bigger than life? Like there has to be, you have to embellish that story about that individual so that there's humor and twists and whatnot in there.
All right, thanks.
Kelly, Dennis, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I did, and thank you. You mentioned utilizing props, but not being able to reference a particular individual in the room, and I get that. Am I allowed to reference a popular personality, a famous name, a Tom Hanks, a Mel Gibson, a Meryl Streep, or can I speak to or make a reference that this individual who is a recognizable name was part of my event?
Yes, as long as you say who they are.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Because they're really your prop, one of your props.
Okay.
But the problem with as I said in the contest, the international contest, the woman was saying, we will rock you. But she never said that's, the famous Queen song. And then somebody put in a protest. So, because singing and songs and whatnot are the same as quotes. You always have to cite the source of the quote. And the same would be with the singing.
Thank you.
Would the same apply to using a cartoon or cartoon character? You'd have to refer to the.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to, you'd have to say a popular cartoon character, Miss Piggy. And then go on, it could be an impromptu.
Ken, you have your hand?
Thanks again. So we're talking about protest. Can you explain how we might resolve a protest at a contest? I've never had one per se, but nervous for when that might happen to me if I was a chair or a chief judge.
Well, that's resolved by the judges. They gather all the judges together and they determine whether there was an actual protest valid. And I think it's in the rule book that it's the contestants and the judges can lodge a protest.
That's correct, Marilyn. It's no one who's watching, or it has to be a contestant or a judge, and it has to take place before the final results are in.
Yeah, yeah. Robert, you have something?
Yeah, just a quick question. Thank you, Marilyn. And thank you for doing this. This really helped me out. To be clear about referencing quotes, that is only going to be when I'm referencing famous quotes or pop culture set. So if I'm talking a story of, me and my buddy Dave were walking down the street, I don't have to really quote Dave per se.
No. Well,
it's only the pop culture and the famous quotes, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. Just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you so much.
What are you playing?
Oh, I just have a guitar here. I just pass the time. I'm fully present to this. I've been taking screenshots. This has been amazing. This has been so helpful because I wanted a clarification on how to deliver the tall tale, because when I heard about this contest, I immediately thought about a story and I'm like, oh, I can weave this into a tall tale. And so this is really helping me be able to put that story together. I'm quite looking forward to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
What I can do is I can send you the information. I have, I think, everybody's email. So if you want to, I can send out the information that I talked about today, if that's helpful.
It would be terrific for me personally. As I said, I've taken screenshots, but if you want to send me an email of that stuff too, it's never bad to have. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
I will accept that as well.
Who said that? Dennis? Okay. All right. Are there any other questions, Tim? Can you see?
I'm not seeing anybody. We are at almost at 8 o'clock, just a little earlier. But
That's okay.
But if everybody's got what they need.
Hello, homie. How are you doing, homie?
Oh, yes. Oh, it's funny. Trevor is a friend of mine, and he was always calling me homie. And I said, is that a good thing?
Homie, I'm just you've done a great job, and excellent job. Very proud of you. Where did we get the rules for the contest? Because there seems to be a lot of rules. I want to make sure.
They're in if you go to the Toastmasters International website, that's toastmasters.org.
Okay.
And go to resources.
Mm-hmm.
And go to resources library.
Yep.
You'll see contests, speech contests. But I can give you whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah, Trevor, I put in the chat a link
I think
to
I saw
the
that.
actual. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. And one more thing, I want to tell everyone else, Robert, I want to tell Dennis Kelly, and don't bother coming, okay? This contest has already been won. I will be entering it. Marquis will be in the house, so you guys don't just stay home and just watch me accept the trophy and walk away with the prize. That's all.
That is the best tall tale I've heard you tell in years.
Yeah.
You know me, Dennis. Okay, try me, Dennis. Try me.
Yeah.
And Olga, don't even think about it. Okay, stay away.
But I would recommend, if you're not competing and you're not being part of the officials, be in the audience, because you will end up being very sore from laughing so hard. And it's always nice to have an audience that responds to the efforts of the speaker. So tall tales, I'm for tall tales. Any other, Tim? Tim, thank you very much for stepping in as Zoom master. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, anytime.
Mm-hmm. So if there isn't any other questions, Natalie.
Oh, Natalie.
Hi, yes, actually, I do have a question. A little while ago presented a speech from a perspective of my cat, because I'm a huge cat lover. So I just thought I'd do something different. And I was thinking maybe I can do that again for a tall tale, but is it better for a tall tale to be told from to make it sound more realistic, just embellished, or?
No. If you can embellish your cat and it takes on.
Cat ears and everything, and drew on whiskers on my face. I'm like, maybe I'll do that again.
Yes. No, it doesn't have to. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't have to be true.
Okay.
I
just thought more realistic, oh, clearly this is not a real story, but
No. That's the beauty of tall tales, is that it can be anything.
Okay, good to know.
They look at it that it has to be exaggerated. And if you can turn your cat into this big person, or they met somebody else, it's up to you. You have 3 to 5 minutes to tell a tale.
A cat tail, that's funny. That gives me an idea. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Any other questions? If not, then I will call this workshop adjourned.
Thank you.
Ding. Right.
Thanks,
Good night,
Marilyn.
everyone.
Marilyn,
Take
team.
care.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Take care.
Sign up for a tall tale.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. Take care.
Once you walked away.
Well, we could stop recording, I guess,
True.
Tim.
Yeah.